In this lesson titled Vlookup Approximate, we're in Workbook Lesson 10, If Functions and Vlookup. And we're in Worksheet tab, Lookup Approximate. In this lesson, we're going to talk about one type of Vlookup, Vlookup Approximate. Vlookup allows you to look to a table to find answers. So in this case, we want to give a discount on all of our prices listed here in the E column. And we want to put the discount amount here, the percentage. The discount is based on the price. So over here on our table, we see if it is the price is 0 to 100, then it's 0. Once it hits 100, the discount is 20. When we hit 50, the discount is 30, and so on until we hit 350, and then the discount becomes 60%. So Vlookup works like this, and let's just start typing it in. Equals Vlookup, and we'll need a parentheses to start it. And once we do, we get a screen tip here asking us for the lookup value. Well, that's the price. I'm going to click here, and then we need to put in a comma to shift our emphasis to the next variable. Now it wants to know the table array. Where is the table that shows us the answers? Well, the table array is right here, so I can highlight that and then say comma, and our emphasis switches now to ask us what's the column index number. That's kind of an odd way of saying where are the answers in our lookup table. Well, the answers are in the second column right here. So instead of saying J for the column, we actually say 2 to tell it that it's in the second column. So I'm going to give it the number 2, and we hit comma. And now it wants to know this very last variable, and it wants to know, is this an approximate match or an exact match? An approximate match is like we have in this table. From 150 all the way to 200, it'll stay 30%. When it gets to 200, it becomes 40. From 200 all the way to 300, it stays 40 until it gets all the way to 300, and then it becomes 50, and so on. So we're looking for an approximate match because it can be anywhere in between here until it finally switches when it reaches this number. So to accept true for approximate match, we can actually double click right on the word true, and it will put true in there for us, so we didn't have to type true. And now we've done everything that Vlookup is asking for, so I can enter to accept. And what do we have here? Price is $46, so that is 0% discount until you reach 100. So let's copy these all the way down and see how it worked. I could drag it down from the autofill handle, but we know now that we can also double click and it'll fill it in. So right away we noticed only a few of them worked, and then we started getting errors. So pound NA is a way of saying that it was unable to find what it needed to complete the formula. Let's click on one of these and edit the formula to see what happened. Double click. Do you see here where the range we selected for our table has shifted down? This might ring a bell or two earlier when we were talking about relative formulas. As we copy the formula down, all the references also come down. So to fix this, we need to make this an absolute reference. So I'm going to double click this first one, and right here you can see this is red lettering, I3 through J8. This is our table. I'm going to highlight all of that because I want to make all of that an absolute reference. And to do that, we can use dollar signs in front of each one, or we can automatically do that with F4. So now we have dollar signs. This is an absolute reference. I'll hit enter to accept. And now I'm going to double click again to send this all the way down. And now this looks a lot better. So we can click something down here, double click, and edit the formula, and we see it's still using this reference for the table, but it's using the relative reference correctly over here in the E column. I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard to get out of that formula. So this is an example of a relative reference. And in this case, we need to remember that true equals the approximate match when we get to that very last variable in the formula. There is something called H-lookup, and that stands for horizontal lookup. And I'll just briefly give you an example. I'm going to select all of this table, right-click, choose Copy. I'm going to come down over here and right-click and choose Paste Special, and I'm going to do a transpose paste. And now instead of columns, we see rows for our data. So this is an example of a horizontal lookup. Everything would be the same except for when it asks for the column where the answers are, it's asking for the row where the answers are. And this would be row number 2 where the answers are. So kind of the same thing. So VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, very powerful when you have your data ready to fill in the blanks. You just simply need to look up what the answer is.